Good morning. It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy for another NBA First Look podcast. And we got 4 games on slate. The playoffs have officially started. No more playing games. Boy, if you watched last night's, that was a doozy, man. We had the Grizzlies take over and beat up Golden State with the win. Joe Val got in foul trouble early, so I thought they were in a little bit of trouble. They made a run early, but man, it's fun to see. I'm glad that Memphis is in. And again, great slate. And if you've been watching these playing games, this is why you got to love NBA playoffs. It's just the guys actually play basketball. The rotations tighten up, the coaches, play the veterans. And again, we have a 4-game slate today on Saturday, May 22nd. Starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we got Miami at Milwaukee to open up the night. And that's one thing I love about NBA playoffs as well, is you can focus on one game and enjoy it as you go through the day. So we're going to dive in here. I'm going to go through some injury news. We don't have a whole lot of it. And then I'll talk about DraftKings and Fanduel lineup construction and just kind of build some sample lineups and talk through each team and each game and see what we come up with. But for that, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep knocking these things out. And hopefully this information is useful to you. And let's jump right into this. All right, as you can see behind me, I have the DraftKings desktop pulled up behind me. And again, we will just go game by game here. First thing, we'll look at injuries. And for this first game, it's basically, we know Oladipo's out. He might even play next year. That's how bad his injury is. But Jimmy Butler is in. Jeff Teague is in for the Dallas at LA Clippers. The next game, Maxi Kleber is in for Brooklyn. Time Lord Robert Williams is in. Landry Shamit's in. Chioza and Joe Harris are both in. And then for Portland at Denver, Austin Rivers is questionable, and Will Barton is out. So he's really the only one that we're really that really affects things is Will Barton. So a lot of fun games here. The first one we got Miami at Milwaukee. Milwaukee favored by 4.5 here, 227 over under. Now, if you remember in the bubble, Miami beat Milwaukee in the playoffs in the bubble 4-1 in the conference semifinals and just booted them out. So they're going to have revenge on their mind. That they remember that, and we're not happy about it. So that's something that I definitely keep in mind when I'm building these lineups, because the changes that we have. Miami did have Jay Crowder in that lineup, and Milwaukee did not have Drew Holiday. So those are the big changes that we've had. Otherwise, the teams are basically about the same. Not a whole lot has changed on both sides of the ball besides those things. I guess Miami also has Trevor Ariza, which has been playing pretty good minutes, and it kind of takes up that Jay Crowder role. But other than that, it's about the same team. But on the Miami side here, over on DraftKings, we got Jimmy Butler at 8.4, Bam Adebayo at 8,300. And then Tyler Hero 6K, Dragic 4,900, Kendrick Nunn 4,800, Trevor Ariza 4,700, and Robinson 4,600. And that's who I'm really going to focus on. I'm not focusing on any of these bench guys here. Now we did see, about a 9-man rotation in the first game in the playoffs last year, what Spoelstra did. But still, Butler, Bam Adebayo. The one guys I want to kind of focus on, Butler and Bam are both going to be in play for me here at price for sure. You can play either one of them. But the guys I kind of want to focus more on here are Dragic, Nunn, and Hero, especially Dragic, because Dragic only really plays, roughly 27 to 30 minutes a game. But this is the playoffs. And, I think him and Nunn are going to be the factors. If Miami's going to win this game, it's going to be, yes, we need the defense of Jimmy Butler and Bam, to slow down Giannis. But these other guys got to score, so we're going to need scoring out of these other guards. And so I see it as Dragic and Nunn playing a ton of minutes here, and they're going to have to be the driving force here. In Game 1 of that conference semifinals last year, Dragic played 34 minutes, put up 27 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. And again, I think those minutes are going to be up. So I'm going to plug him in my point guard slot here, just because I think they're going to go play these guys heavy. This is the playoffs, man. Like, we're not saving nobody here. We're going here to win games. So Dragic, same kind of thing could be said about Nunn. Again, Nunn and Hero. Nunn's got a bigger role this year than he had last year. And again, at 4,800, Nunn should probably continue to start here and have Dragic come off the bench. But even if they start Dragic and do the opposite, they're just too cheap. They both should play, in my opinion, in the mid 30s here. Again, I think it's going to cut rotations down, for some of these other guys. But, I think you want one of these guards. And I'm going to go with Dragic. I'm going to go with the more veteran player. But Nunn can light it up any time too. And if you wanted to run both of them, I'd be fine with that as well. And again, I think Jimmy Butler and Bam are in play. And same thing with the Robinson. I think Robinson could get hot at any moment, but maybe his minutes are cut down a little bit if one of these other guys gets hot. So I think, one of Dragic, Nunn, Robinson, Hero's a little expensive for me on DraftKings, 6K. Yeah, he can get it going, but I don't like that tag on him. I'd much rather come down to this range here. So I'm going to put Dragic in this lineup here. And you know what? I'm going to slide Nunn in here as well as we go through and build things. But that's kind of where I'm looking at this Miami side. Again, Butler and Bam are squarely in play. It's just, I just think that they're going to have to lean on these guys scoring more. Those guys kind of just trying to slow them down. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see things rolling out here on the Miami side. Treasure Ariza at 4,700, I don't mind playing a little bit of him. I think he's going to see a lot of run as well. So it's someone that I don't mind, but I still think I want to focus on these guys. And again, Jimmy Butler, a small forward, I love at 7,400. Bam at 8,300 at center. I think there's some other places that I would kind of go, but shoot, let's just put Jimmy because he's a small forward. It's hard to fill. Let's throw him in here and let's get rid of Nunn as we go through this. But that's where I look at it. Again, on the playoffs, these rotations tighten up. So let's look at that. Over on the Milwaukee side, again, Giannis 10-7, Middleton 8,100, Drew Holiday 7,700, DiVincenzo 5,100, Bobby Portis 4,700, Brook Lopez 4,500, and that's where I would stop. I wouldn't play anyone outside of those guys. I just don't see the reason for it. And frankly, it's just those are the guys that are going to play a ton of minutes. Again, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder with getting booted out of the conference semifinals last year, and they're going to come out blazing here. So Giannis, again, no problem playing him. His props are looking pretty good. 29.5 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, all with the juice on the over on those. And we should see big minutes out of this guy. So, 10-7 Giannis in the playoffs. In the first game he did play, though, Miami, he put up 18, 9, and 10 in 37 minutes. We're going to see heavy minutes out of these guys. Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday. I think you're going to want one of these guys. I don't know if I want to go Drew Holiday just because I think there's cheaper point guards that I like I talked about Dragic and Nunn. Middleton's nice because you can slide him into a forward slot at 8,100. So I like you can look at there. I don't think I would run Giannis or Middleton in the same lineup. If you were going to run at least one of them, I don't think I would run them both together at price. They're just too expensive, and I don't see them both getting there against Miami. They have 115 implied run or 115 implied team total, but I just don't see them quite getting there. So I think you got to pick one or the other. We got 6,100 left on average salary after throwing Dragic and Butler in there. Let's throw Giannis in here just at that power forward slot and just kind of see what it looks like. Got 5,200 left. We can change some things around, but I think you're going to want one of those guys just with that. I think they're going to come out strong here, kind of send a message. So to me, it's going to be Middleton, Holiday, or Giannis. DiVincenzo, I don't mind playing him at 5,100 with the minutes that he does play. Again, he's in that point guard, small shooting guard position. So I kind of like that. He might be a position we could fill in at shooting guard down the road here. And then Brook Lopez, 4,500 against super cheap. He had a real good stat line. Played 27 minutes in their first game against Miami last year. Put up 24 points and 1 rebound. So again, I think it's a guy that we could look at too at 4,500. But don't play any of these other guys. I don't want this. PJ Tucker at 3K. how much is PJ Tucker going to play? If you're looking for a punt, I guess, but if he's going to be out there, 20, 25 minutes, it's going to be just for defensive purposes. So, but if you were taking one punt, I guess it would be PJ Tucker, but it is PJ Tucker. He's going to play defense and shoot corner threes. That is all he does. Let's move over to Dallas at the LA Clippers here. We have a total of 218 over under with the Clippers favored by 5.5. And I'm not excited about this Dallas team at all. Luka's 10.5, Porzingis is 8,100. I think if I was going to play one of them here, I would be Porzingis because the Clippers do, struggle more towards, I would say, bigs than they do, guards, because they'll put Kawhi or PG-13 on Luka all day long. Now I remember in the bubble last year too how these teams got kind of heated as well. So that's something that should be a fun series to watch for sure. But I do remember Luka getting all fired up a little bit, and they ended up winning 4-2 in the conference finals as well. I mean, was it the conference finals or I think it was round one that they ended up winning here. Yeah, it was. They ended up winning 4-1 against. So this is another matchup, playoff round one, that they just kind of threw them out there. So first game that they played against them, the Mavericks, Luka did go for 42, 9, and 7 in 38 minutes. So Porzingis only played 20 minutes that game. I want to say that's the game that he got hurt. Hurt or foul trouble, but Luka can take over any game at any point in time. One thing I like about Luka on DraftKings is he's small forward eligible, so we can throw him in there. If he would give me anywhere close to 40, 10 and 10 line, man, you're gonna want him, and I'd want him over Jimmy Butler for an extra 2,200. He's gonna play massive minutes, man. He's probably gonna play 35 to 40 minutes in this game. So, he is the team. I don't really want any of these other guys. I don't really, with Rick Carlisle, I don't want to trust, Finney Smith at 4,900 or Josh Richardson at 4,300 is kind of interesting. They had Seth Curry last year that kind of left. He's kind of filling, more of that role. 4,300 for him. I don't mind that price tag. Jalen Brunson, I think it's 4,100. Yeah, 4,100. That's another guy that is kind of one of those cheap pieces. I don't mind if he goes at them. But just looking at the props of those guys, they're nothing crazy. Brunson's 9.5 points, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. And Richardson's basically on the same line. And we're probably going to see like low to mid 20 minutes out of them. So, again, nothing I love. Maxi Kleba, is 3,500. If you need another cheap option, you could look at Maxi Kleba. I just have a hard time playing him, but he should play close to 30 minutes. Doesn't do a whole lot with those minutes. But if you're looking for a cheap option, it would be Maxi Kleba if we're trying to fit in some of these other guys. So again, like PJ Tucker in that first game, Maxi Kleba in the second game. I would say Kleba has more upside than PJ Tucker. If you're looking for one of them as a cheap spend, it would probably be Maxi Kleba. But yeah, Maxi Kleba, Brunson, Richardson, those would be the cheap guys I would look at if you're looking on this team. And then it's just Luka or Porzingis. I'm not looking to pay $5,500 for Hardaway Jr. I think that's a fade for me. I don't love it. Should play a decent amount of minutes, but I just don't love that price tag. I'd much rather go to the Miami cheaper guards with upside. And then Finney Smith at 4,900. Don't love him as well. I just don't think he has enough upside to win a tournament. So lay down these three guys or Luka. I'm going to take Butler out of this lineup, and I'm going to throw Luka in this lineup. Just kind of see a Luka Giannis build and kind of see what it looks like if we can make that happen. And who knows? We might slide in a Brunson or Richardson. I'm going to keep those guys on my mind as we go through this. But they might have to be, in that shooting guard role to make this kind of work. And, we'll see what happens here. Over on the Clipper side, again, it's going to be Paul George and it's going to be Kawhi Leonard. They're going to play a ton of minutes here. It's playoff time. Way too cheap. Kawhi Leonard at 8K is ridiculously cheap. It is playoff time. They're going to play a ton. Paul George, same kind of thing. 7,800. These guys are just way too cheap. Man, it might be hard to build a Luka and Giannis lineup here if we're going to get guys like this in this range. Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs should be a 10-game player. You know, he put up a 29, 6, and 12 stat line in that first game against Dallas last year in 38 minutes. Paul George only put 27, 3, and 2. Paul George seems to be like he kind of fades away in the playoffs, and Kawhi Leonard kind of, does the opposite. And so if you're going to play one guy, I would lean Kawhi Leonard over Paul George. And so let me go back here. Let me take and put Kawhi Leonard here. And then let me go back here, and I'm going to put Jimmy Butler in as well. So I'm going to see this kind of line because I just feel like, yeah, Luka can put up a monster stat line. Don't get me wrong, and I have no problem playing him. But there's different ways we can go here. There's a lot of ways we can go. So I want to see kind of the builds where you have more mid-range like this. Or I don't know if we can fit. I don't know if we can make this work, even if we did a Leonard. Yeah. I don't know, we could try. It'd be a pure punt kind of deal if we had a Kawhi Leonard, Luka, Giannis lineup. If we did something like that, you're probably are kind of come back here. And you're going to run probably a Richardson or a Brunson at this shooting guard position. Let's throw Richardson in this. And then you're probably, having to play a Maxi Kleber at 3,500 to make this work. So we'll throw that in there. But again, different ways to go. It's still easy to fit in like 3 studs on this lineup with the way they've priced them. But Kawhi Leonard at 8K and, I'm sorry, I just love it. Like, he's the one that rises to the top when it comes to playoffs, and Paul George just hasn't done it for me. So I'm going to lean more Kawhi Leonard if I had to choose one of them than Paul George, but both are super cheap. Both are going to lead the team. I don't really have any interest in the rest of this team. Marcus Morris, I guess, at 5,400. Zubac at 4,600. Zubac just comes down to the minutes, man. Like, if he's going to get close to 30 minutes, I love him at 4,600. He played 22 minutes in that first game against them last year and put up a 10-10 double-double in 22 minutes. It just comes down to the minutes. You got Serge Ibaka now. How many minutes is Serge Ibaka going to play? He's been out a while. He could see 20 minutes. So it all comes down to the minutes of how much we think Zubac is going to play. If Zubac or Ibaka, if we know if one of those guys are going to play 30 minutes, then I want one of them. They have way more upside than Maxi Kleber. So it's something that we kind of have to look at. And then that's about it. We got Rajon Rondo here at 4,400. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. They could spread these minutes out a ton. Reggie Jackson could play, he's 3,800 and could play a ton of minutes. Again, these vets that are on this team, that's what they brought these guys into, are in here for, is for the playoffs. They're not saving them anymore. So we'll have to see the starting lineup on this and kind of figure out what's going on. But those are the guys that I would kind of look at. Don't look at any of these guys down here. I'm not looking at Batum even at 3,500. Like, if he's in the starting lineup, then okay, maybe. But man, his freaking player props are horrible. 6.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Don't really love it. I think for me, it's Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and then we'll have to see with like is in Zubac if he gets the start, over Ibaka at that price, it's okay. But I think you do want one of at least Kawhi Leonard or Paul George at their price. Move on to the next game. This should be a fun one. We got Boston at Brooklyn here. This is a 229 over under. Brooklyn favored by 8. Brooklyn should be able to take care of business here against Boston. On the Boston side, they're fully healthy here. So we got Tatum at 10-1, Walker at 7,500, Evan Fournier at 6,200, Smart sitting at 6,100, Tristan Thompson 5K, Time Lord 4,900, Pritchard's 4,100. Pritchard's, I guess, is a little interesting. He's going to play, but again, it's the playoffs, so they're going to play all their starters here. We're going to see a ton of Kemba Walker. We're going to see a ton of Tatum, ton of Smart, ton of Fournier. All these guys are in play. I don't think I would play more than one in a lineup. Fournier, if he gets hot, can always do something. So at 6,200, I don't mind him. Smart 6,100. I like him more on Fanduel where he gets those blocks and steals than I do on DraftKings. But is in play. But Kemba Walker should dominate the ball here. He's got pretty decent props across the board. So if he gets super aggressive here, I don't mind playing Kemba Walker 7,500. Tatum's just hard to play. Like, we saw big games out of him. He put up a 50 burger in the play-in games here. but I think he's going to be checked by Durant, and Durant's one of the better defenders. And that length, I think, is going to hurt him a little bit. And at 10-1, I would much rather play Giannis or a Luka in the playoffs than I would a Tatum. But, at price, he's going to be way less owned than those other guys. So if you're looking at playing, a guy that's going to be lower owned against Brooklyn, we've seen even Brooklyn when the big three did play, they struggled at time defensively. But I think they're going to buckle down a little bit more here. And I just think that, Boston's going to struggle a little bit in this first game coming out the gate. I think Brooklyn's going to try to put it to them. So, again, I think these guys are all in play. I just would kind of lean more to playing Kemba Walker or Evan Fournier on DraftKings than I would play Tatum. But, again, a lower ownership guy, when Tatum's priced so close to Giannis and Luka, he's not going to, gain as much ownership. So over on the Brooklyn side, again, the big three are playing. We got Harden at 10-3, Durant at 9-7, Kyrie Irving at 9-2, Joe Harris 4,700, Blake Griffin 4,400. That could be an interesting spot at price. Again, it's a playoff, so he should be playing close to 30 minutes, and 4,400 is pretty damn cheap. Get out of here, Maxi Kleba. I'm booting you. I'm throwing Blake Griffin in here. Even Jeff Green at 3,900. I like that price tag as well, because Jeff Green is going to play, a good chunk of minutes as well, I think. So, again, it's going to be the big three, and then we got Blake Griffin at 4,400. So, this is where it's a tough slate, man, because we have so many studs on this slate. We haven't even got to Portland when we got Dame and the Joker, man. So, and all these guys are priced, they do this every year. They don't price them up like they do in the regular season. They make you have hard decisions here. So, again, Harden at 90 or 10-3, Durant at 9,700, Irving at 92. I think if I had to lean to play these guys, I would lean to play more, maybe Harden or Durant here. Harden's going to be the facilitator here, so I do like going over on his assist prop, just looking at the props a little bit here. But, Irving or Durant can score at any time. Again, you like that Durant's at 9,700 small forward, power forward position. And it's pretty loaded with Leonard and Butler and Luka. But again, in this lineup that we're building, I'm not going to be able to fit one of these guys. Maybe they eat into each other enough that we don't see ceiling games out of any of them, and all of them put up around 45 or 50. And if you're going to fade one of them, that is what your hope is. I would make a rule where you do not have more than one of these guys in a lineup. I would not run, say, Durant and Irving together or Harden or Irving together. I'd run just one. I'm going to throw Blake in there at 4,400. I just think that's too cheap. So his props aren't great, but 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. I'll take that for his price. I think he could get you a double-double, and I'll take that shot with upside over him than I would a guy like Maxi Kleba. Again, they brought these guys in for this reason only, is to win a championship. So, these guys are definitely going to play. I'm not looking at the Bruce Browns or, Joe Harris should play, but, he's 300 more, and I just would much rather play Blake Griffin. I don't think, Claxton's going to play a ton of minutes here. So that's where I would look at. Let's head over to the last game where we got Portland at Denver. This game is a 227.5 over under. Denver favored by 1. Again, Portland going in here. And again, just more studs on the slate, man. It's like you got to make some hard decisions here. Lillard at 9,400 is pricey, but man, with Murray going down on the other side, they just don't have anyone to check him. And Lillard was playing super hot going into the playoffs. So we could see a monster game out of Lillard. And again, I think you'll get him at low ownership because I think a lot of these other studs are going to be prioritized than Lillard. So it's a great, I think, tournament play at price that you can definitely look at that won't have as much ownership. If we want to look at Nurkic at 7,200, again, he used to play. We used to have Jokic and Nurkic on the same team at Denver a few years ago. And so Nurkic at 7,200 is a guy that if we see 35 minutes out of, he could body up. And he's got some big games here. In 20 minutes on the 16th of May against Denver, he put up 45 fantasy points in 20 minutes. And it's just one of those things where he could put up monster numbers, and it's the playoffs, so we should see a ton of McCollum, ton of Lillard, ton of Robert Covington. More run out of Melo. Melo at 4K, I kind of like in the playoffs. Nurkic at 7,200. Norman Powell 5,700. They're going to run a real tight rotation with those guys. I don't think we're going to see a ton of Cantor or Simmons or those guys. So, man, I kind of want to feel to get him in here in this lineup because I really like Nurkic at 7,200. That just seems way too cheap to me. We're not going to be able to fit it in this particular lineup. So again, these are where you got to make these hard decisions. Let's take Luka out of this one, and I'm going to throw in Nurkic in this lineup, and I think I could go back and I could fit in I can fit in Griffin at the forward position. We got 5,500 left here. We're talking about those cheap guards. I could come back and I could throw in Nunn in this lineup as well and do like a Dragic Nunn combo. And then we got 5,700 left at utility. But again, I kind of want a piece of this on this Portland side, one of them. And Nurkic, I think, is my favorite out of the bunch, just at price. Again, Lillard, I think, is a great tournament play to get off some of these other studs, but Nurkic, just at that price, he should just crush. Really like Nurkic here. Powell, Covington, they're just secondary pieces for me. I don't want to, run them a ton. McCollum at 7,900, don't love that price tag on him at all. I think, going to play a ton of minutes. I would not play McCollum and Lillard together if you're running 150 lineups. I would definitely, make a rule for that as well. I wouldn't play them together. But yeah, Nurkic is my guy. Like I said, Melo's a little interesting at 4K. He could get some extra run here in the playoffs, and if he gets hot, that's a good tag on him. So I don't mind some Melo. Over on the Portland side, like we said, Will Barton is out. So we're going to see a ton of Jokic here. Jokic 10-6. Only center eligible, though. But again, if you don't want to play Giannis and maybe you want to go a Jokic, Nurkic, I have no problem doing that. I think we're going to see a ton of Jokic just crushing here. So maybe we don't see Giannis here. Maybe we want to go and say, hey, let's go a Nurkic Jokic, man. I don't mind going something like this at all. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He's that entire team. Michael Porter Jr. is 8,200, but he's got to score a ton to keep up with this team. So even that's a high price tag, he's going to be low owned because when you got Jimmy Butler's and you have Kawhi Leonard's at the same tag, no one's going to pay 8,200 for Michael Porter Jr. when Kawhi Leonard is 8K. It's just not going to happen. So tournament option only because of that. But again, he can put up monster numbers if his shot is falling. Again, we talked about Austin Rivers being questionable. If he plays, I like some Austin Rivers here. That's a good tag on him. If he is out, Campazzo is going to have to play a ton. 5,200. We're going to see basically him and Monte Morris. Monte Morris is another guy that's a cheap guy that we could look at playing. Off the bench, could play a ton, and he's shown in the past that he can get things done and spark that bench unit. So I don't mind playing some Monte Morris at 3,300. Let's just look and see if we decided to take off, say, Nunn and throw Monte Morris in this lineup. We got 7,300 left. We can see what we kind of got going on here at the power forward. We have to make Griffin around. It doesn't really, not in this lineup, it doesn't do us any good. I don't think Monte Morris is a shooting. Oh, he is shooting guard eligible. I'd rather play Monte Morris than Richardson. Actually, let's throw Monte Morris at shooting guard. Just think there's way more upside there. And then there's just 5,800 left, and then maybe we can get up to another one of these guards, or maybe this is where we go a Maxi Kleba at the power forward position, punt like this, and then we have 8,100 left for that guard position. This is a kind of a stars and scrubs lineup, but we got Leonard, Nurkic, Jokic, and then we got 8,100 for this guard, and we can throw a Middleton in here, which I like. I kind of like that build as well. You throw a Middleton in this lineup, and that makes a really interesting build for sure. We're not going Giannis, but we are going Middleton, so a way we can look at it. But again, as we keep going over here for Denver, I don't think we're going to see a ton of some of these other guys. Aaron Gordon's going to be one of those guys, like, he should see 30 minutes and he should do well, but he just worries the crap out of me. Like 5K though is a guy that has massive upside. He should see in the 30 to 33 minutes, but but he's not the, first or secondary option on this team. It's going to be Jokic, it's going to be Porter. Everything's going to be on Jokic's shoulders here. So if this game stays close and is a 1-point spread, I think you got to anchor your teams with Jokic. You get the night hammer on this as well. Everything's going to go through him. Nurkic is going to have to, guard him out on the perimeter. And he's not as fleet of foot as, Jokic should be able to pull him out on the perimeter and shoot threes. So, yeah, I think Jokic is the guy I want to anchor my teams with. But again, I like Nurkic on the other side. But again, if Austin Rivers is out, I love Monte Morris even more. And Campazzo, 5,200, I like him as well. But Monte Morris is going to play a ton if we don't have any Austin Rivers. So keep that in mind. And that's about it. I don't want to play any Shaq Harrison, no JaMychal Green, none of these guys. It's Monte Morris, it's Campazzo, it's Gordon as the kind of secondary pieces, and it's Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic as the primary guys here. So that's where I would kind of see things. Again, you got to make these decisions on DraftKings. It's very difficult, but you got to make them, and that's where I would kind of see it. But if I had to rank them studs, I'm definitely going to lean Jokic in the 10K group. Again, with all three guys playing from Brooklyn, I have a hard time pulling the trigger on that. So it's going to be Jokic for me. It's probably then next going to be like Luka and Giannis, like that. And then again, all the 8K guys that we have, Kawhi Leonard is just way too cheap for playoff Kawhi Leonard. And then like I said, I think Michael Porter Jr. is a good pivot off that at super cheap. I'm not cheap, but at more expensive than Kawhi Leonard is, at way less ownership. And then Lillard is one of those guys at way less ownership. So if you don't want to play Nurkic and you want to go Lillard on the other side, I think that makes for a contrarian approach on the DraftKings side. So let's slip over here to FanDuel real quick and see what kind of builds we can build over here on FanDuel. Again, a little different, builds here. We got Giannis at 10-9, Jokic at 10-7, Harden at 10-5, Durant's up to 10-4 over here, Tatum 10, Luka 10. So we have 6 guys in the 10K range. And it's kind of like, how are we going to make these builds work, and how we're going to fit them in? We're probably can fit in maybe 2 studs. I think at center, the big decision you're going to make here for me is, I'm going, and this is how I always build my lineups. I start at center first because it dictates the rest of your build. Am I going to go up to Jokic at 10-7 or Nurkic at 7-4? I think that's where I'm landing. I'm going to have a hard time. I like them both, man. And like I said, in that DraftKings build we threw them both in there. So I'm going to, in this particular build, I'm putting Nurkic in, but you can go either way. I just think we could get a 50 or 60 burger out of Nurkic, and Jokic would have to put up an 80 burger or something for me to feel bad about it. So 7,400 just feels way too cheap here. The next spot, let's go up to point guard and kind of see what we got here. Again, Luka as a point guard over here. 10K, Lillard 9,700, Irving 92, Kimber 7,800, Campazzo 5,400. We're probably going to go this if we don't have any Austin Rivers. That's just cheap. I told you I like Dragic and Nunn as well. I think those guys are going to have to play a ton. So we could go cheap here at point guard. Even though there's some that I like, I think that there's some value here at the point guard. Like I talked to you about Monte Morris as well. I think he could be a sneaky guy that people aren't on if we don't have any Austin Rivers. So this is the kind of range I'm going to look at building. Monte Morris, Campazzo, Nunn, and Dragic. Let's throw Dragic in. Dragic in this lineup. And then I'm going to look at maybe Campazzo or Monte Morris. I'm going to throw Monte Morris in this because I think he's going to be a contrarian take, and not a lot of people are going to play him. They're going to play Campazzo more. Like, again, no problem playing either one of them, especially if Rivers are out, because they're going to have to play a ton. So those are the guys I would look at. And plus, it opens up salary for us a little bit here. Over at the shooting guard position, again, Harden's 10-5, Paul George 8,400, CJ McCollum 7,500, Marcus Smart 5,700, Tyler Hero 5,400, DiVincenzo 5,300. That's where I would sit. I wouldn't go any cheaper than that. We got plenty of value in this range at Smart, DiVincenzo, or Hero if we want to go that range, or all the way up to Harden. We got an average of 7,300 left as we're building through this. I think Smart's going to be a good play at 5,700, so I have no problem playing Smart in here, and I don't mind pairing him up with like a DiVincenzo at 5,300 or a Tyler Hero at 5,400, or going all the way up to Harden. I don't really like 8,400 for Paul George. CJ McCollum, again, is interesting at 7,500, but it depends on what we do with the rest of this lineup. I'm not going to put in the second shooting guard position. I'm going to move down to small forward here. Again, Durant 10-4, Kawhi Leonard 8,800, Jimmy Butler 8,800, Michael Porter Jr. 7,500. That's too cheap for him for what he's going to have to do. Chris Middleton 7,300. Again, too cheap. If I don't go Giannis in this lineup, I definitely want to go Middleton. And over here, you could probably play both of them. And then coming down, I don't really like this mid-range. I don't mind Melo at 3,800. I think that is too cheap for him. He should play more minutes here in the playoffs and get that spark off the bench. So if you're looking for a cheap guy, it would probably be Melo for me, a guy that I would look at playing. And I have no problem playing him at all at that price tag. It's just pretty cheap. But yeah, I think the first guy I'm going to plug in here is this Michael Porter Jr. That is just too cheap. He's going to be the second, guy behind Jokic. Could be the first, trigger man off while Jokic kind of runs that offense. So I don't see how you don't play him at 7,500. It's just way too cheap. Down here at power forward, we got 7,550 left. So this is kind of decisions we have to make. If we go Nurkic here, I think we can still fit in some studs here. Aaron Gordon is too cheap at 4,800. I think he's going to be super popular at that price tag. Trevor Ariza, 4,300 is super cheap. I think a guy that you can kind of look at as well. That has upside. Blake Griffin, 4,600. There's a lot of cheap guys at this power forward position. Porzingis, 6,900 is super cheap. A guy that you can look at here. And then Tatum at 10K, Giannis at 10.9. I think all these guys are in play. We got 7,550 left in this build that we're looking at building here. Oh, man, it's a hard decision because we went Nurkic. We have the money to spend up on some of these guys. What if we came over here and decided to go Kawhi Leonard at our other small forward position? We got 7,130 left. We could punt one of these positions down to Ariza. We could throw Ariza in here, or we could throw Aaron Gordon in here, or we could throw them both, and we got 12-3 left. We got way too much money. If we throw them both in there, we might be able to pit 2-10 guys. We might be able to even go Harden. We can go Harden and Durant. I don't mind a build like that. So we got like Dragic, Morris, Smart, Harden, Porter, Durant, Ariza, Gordon, Nurkic. Again, if we think they're going to eat from each other, like I said, on DraftKings, I wouldn't play both of them. But if there's enough value on FanDuel, you can easily get away with it. But maybe on this other small forward position, we decide to play, Melo with Porter Jr. It opens up some more salary. And then we decided that, hey, Aaron Gordon's going to have to do something. And then we're going to play Giannis in this lineup. And then we could still go Harden in this lineup. So it's like a Harden Giannis lineup instead of a Harden Durant lineup with a Melo. I don't mind something like this. So different ways to go about it. I still think there's enough value on the FanDuel side where you can fit in at least 2 10K players pretty easily and still love your lineup. There's a lot of ways to go. I do feel like the value is more at the power forward and point guard position. I don't really want to. I want kind of a mid range and a spend up at shooting guard. Small forward, you can kind of go all over the place. I think there's a lot of different ways to go, but Michael Porter Jr. would be a core play for me right now. Marcus Smart at shooting guard would be a core play for me right now. And again, your biggest decision you're going to make on FanDuel is: are you playing Giannis? Are you playing the Joker or are you playing Nurkic? To me, there's only 2 centers in choice for me that I want on FanDuel today. And that's a decision you're going to have to make in single entry or your cash games today. It's one of the two. They both have massive upside. It just depends on the route that you want to go. But that's where you have to make those hard decisions. So with that, again, I appreciate each and every one of you taking time to listen to the little podcast here. And I hope this helps you break it down. The first game starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got NBA all day. So crack open that beer, enjoy a little basketball, and hope you can win some money. So with that, I will see you on the flip side. Hit that like button on your way out. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great Saturday. See you on the flip side. Deuces.